So the topic we have chosen for this week's prayer and fasting is deliver yourself. Deliver yourself. At the beginning of the year, we chose this similar topic that will be the guiding this thing for the year to deliver ourselves from any kind of bondage or anything that we may have been, trapped in. And by the grace of God, I believe that we have made a lot of progress along those lines. So we're revisiting the same topic, and I will look at other similar or related topics, to ensure that as the year is drawing to a close, that by the grace of God, we come to a place where we are completely delivered from the hands of the strong man. So our text is taken from Proverbs chapter 6, from verse number 1 to verse number 5. Proverbs 6, 1 to 5. It says, the topic is warning against folly. That is what is at the top. That's from there. It's a warning against folly. It says, my son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, if you have shaken hands in pledge for a stranger, you have been trapped by what you said and snared by the words of your mouth. Says, so do this, my son, to free yourself, since you are falling into your neighbor's hands. It says, go to the point of exhaustion and give your neighbor no rest. Allow no sleep to your eyes, no slumber to your eyelids. Free yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the snare of the fowler. Amen.
Amen.
Right. So this test is a test that, give us some really deep spiritual, insight, but it uses some physical, situations and circumstances to, bring to light this spiritual, um, strong and powerful spiritual situation. So he says, my son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, if you have shaken hands in pledge for a stranger, that is basically if you have, put yourself in a position where you have um, become like a security, not security as you are watching, but security as in you say, well, I'm standing in as, security for so and so, for somebody. If he doesn't do this, I'm going to be what? I'm going to be the one who will be responsible, or I'll take the responsibility. That's what it means that if you have shaking hands in pledge for a stranger, they say you have been trapped by what you said. You have been trapped by what you said and snared by the words of your mouth. So if you did that to a stranger, you pledge, to be a security, maybe the person maybe violates it, and now you become trapped by what you said, and now you have come under the, you know, control of your neighbor because you put in a security for, you said a stranger, you said something. I was standing for this person. I remember when I used to work at, friends, an agricultural establishment. When I completed my university, was working there as a manager. And somebody I knew said, "Oh, why are you interested in poultry?" I said, "Oh, I want to go into poultry." So he came to get some day-old chicks. And when he came to get, it looks like he took more than necessary. So what they did, the establishment did was because I introduced the man, they gave the man more, but we didn't go into any like proper agreement, but they gave him more than necessary. And the man said, "Oh, you give me, I'll come and pay," or I know so and so. So that sort of thing. So when it was time, the man did not show up. They 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 took that money from my salary, and it became a legal. Well, I mean, we didn't get that far, but it became a heated, argument, a situation between me and the management. But that is the sort of thing that he's saying here. He says that if you have done that, then you have been trapped. You have been trapped by what you said, ensnared by the words of your mouth. And then when you do that sort of thing, it says, "Do this, my son, to free yourself." It tells you what you do to free yourself. So since you have fallen into your neighbor's hands, since you have fallen into your neighbor, now you have come, under the control of your neighbor. It said, "This is telling you what to do." Um, it says, "Go to the point of exhaustion and give your neighbor no rest. Allow no sleep to your eyes." But if we look at the situation, okay, then we say, okay, it may look as a simple thing, but in an actual fact, there are a lot of situations, there are a lot of circumstances that we find ourselves in. In this time, it is not a physical, but it is what? It is spiritual. Spiritual, transactions that have gone on that has, put us into a spiritual situation where we have become entrapped, by either what we have said, or by whatever, transaction that we may have been engaged in. You know, uh, it could be uh, many different kind of this thing. It could be many different kinds of this thing. You know, um, agreeing to do something with somebody. Maybe do you know that in a spiritual realm, a lot of things can be done. Um, by you, I mean, sometimes when you read or when you listen to, those who, have operated or do operate in that sort of realm, the sort of thing that they talk about sometimes can be quite, interesting. That somebody, those who practice witchcraft, for example, I mean, just by the fact that you even attempt to help somebody becomes, like we even were saying in the physical situation that I said that you are shaking hands in pledge for a stranger. I, and then you got become entrapped by that. Okay, somebody can come and then ask for something, or you can go and then give some, since how do you call it, maybe help somebody, and that can become a situation that can be used spiritually against you. I was listening to him and he said something like, even you can go to, and then you said, "Oh, I'm giving you this money." And if the person is a witch, you can say that. So this person came and then tried to prove to me, I did not ask money from him, but he came to prove to me that's it. But I didn't need this money. And this thing that he has done, he has come to show me this, or he has come to embarrass me, or he has come to do, to prove to me that he's the one. So that is being used, that can become a basis for the person's attack. It's quite bizarre and strange things that goes on in that kind of work. It's quite bizarre the sort of thing that can go in that kind of work. So there are things that we do in the natural that without you knowing, okay, That you can even marry to somebody, and then and that marriage can become a trap that you fall into, because then it becomes a legal basis upon which, you know, those forces of darkness can do what? Can stand up and do things against you just by virtue of that. You can even go and pray for, say, I didn't ask for this person's prayer, and that person has come to pray for me. So that become a basis for what? An attack against you. You see? So it says, if you have found yourself in that kind of position, it says, do this. So do this to free yourself, since you are falling into your neighbor's hands. Since you have become entrapped by that force. It said, what are you to do? It said, go to the point of exhaustion. Go to the point of exhaustion. And it says, give your neighbor no rest. So to the point of exhaustion means that you have come to a place where it will take a lot of work. It will take a lot of work to do it. So let's say, for example, if you, like he's talking about, you shaking hands in pledge for a stranger, and that stranger has defaulted and probably has left. So what do? Now you have to work extra to get extra income to be able to pay whatever, or you have to go extra length. You do not do the normal things that you do. You do not do the normal things that you do, but you go extra to be able to come to that place where you can gather resources enough to be able to compensate, to pay for, or to do whatever you have to do to free yourself from that sort of situation. And brethren, this thing is the same thing when it happens in the spiritual realm. A lot of things that have happened that has kept people or trapped people or has, you know, made us captive or made people captive, in the hands of the powers of darkness. We have heard how, they'll say that, oh, this person will be used for good, or this person will be used for this, and all kinds of things have happened. They talk about a lot of things. Yeah, they talk about a lot of things. And how come do you think that you just be there and then somebody you see for good? No, there must be a reason for that. There must be a basis, a legal basis for that, for you to come to that place. But I say when you come to that place, in the physical, it says, give yourself no, it says, come, go to the point of exhaustion. Okay, the exhaustion has to do with what? The exhaustion has to do with you now go the extra mile. And it says that allow no sleep to your eyes, no slumber to your eyelids. Okay, as I've said, you have to go the extra mile. And it's free yourself like a gazelle from the hands of the hunter. When you are entrapped like a gazelle, when you are caught, when a hunter catches a gazelle, can you imagine that gazelle can free it? What that gazelle will do to free itself? Or it says or like a bird from the snare of the fowler. It will not take. It is not going to be an easy task to bring freedom to uh, that gazelle or that fowl, that bird, to bring about freedom. So the usual life that gazelles do and doing the normal runs and stuff like that, it will take a way more. It will take a lot more effort because that person setting the trap, he sets the trap, he knows the strength of the gazelle, or let's say that bird, if, for example, setting the snare, he knows the strength of the bird, and then he use equipment that bird cannot free itself from. And the same as the gazelle. when the hunter has that gazelle in hand, that gazelle cannot use just its normal strength because that hunter will not let that gazelle go. So when it comes to that sort of situation, it says what? It said, give your eyes no what? Sleep, and your eyelid no slumber. And it said, free yourself. So when we translate that to the spiritual, okay, the spiritual is exactly the same. When you have come into that sort of situation, people say, I have prayed, this thing has not gone. I have done this thing has not gone. And Jesus Christ, you remember when Jesus Christ went to pray for, sorry, the disciples went to pray for this epileptic boy and did not heal. And Jesus came again. He said, they come out only with prayer and fasting. So it is the kind of prayer and fasting is talking about. It's not the ordinary one. It's the one that you watch. So you give your eye no watch, no sleep, and give. It said you have to go to the point of exhaustion, and that is how you free yourself from unassigned powers. So it's a reason why we, are making effort to come to a place where we can, go to the so-called point of exhaustion, even in our prayer. Because if you do not do that and just rely on your normal 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour prayer, what is involved in that spiritual capture? Remember that remember that it will not be an easy thing to free yourself. Yeah, that's what you need to remember. It will not be an easy thing to free yourself from the hands of that, power. Jesus Christ even gives an example, where he prayed and then delivered that guy who has been mute, born that way. And it says, who can go to the strong man's house? And this is a captor. He has captured that this thing. You have to be stronger. You have to, do stuff to bring yourself to the point where you are in a position where you are stronger than that force. Amen. You are stronger than that power. That is when you are able or you can be in a place where you can deliver yourself under such power and under such dominion. Amen. So, brethren, God has given us what it takes, but that doesn't come easy. It says, go to the point of exhaustion. The point of exhaustion, that is the point. So even when it's prayer that we are praying, it said, go to the point of exhaustion. Because that is the point at which that what you master enough power, you master enough spiritual strength to be able to break yourself free from the what? From the snare of that foul. It's a snare, it's a trap. It's a trap of that gazelle that you have been caught in. So if we have been caught in, those snares have been put before us and we have been caught in. So there is a place for redemption. There's a place for deliverance. There's a place for freedom. Jesus Christ has led the way. But we have the responsibility to take advantage of that and go to that point of exhaustion and break ourselves free under any power that holds us captive. Amen. And if we do that, we will come to the place where we free ourselves. But the key thing to remember here is that it will not take your ordinary, strength. It will take some extraordinary strength to get you out of that sort of trap. It will take you some extraordinary strength to get you out of that trap. Amen.